Welcome to Wellbeing Wednesdays with Harbinder Narula on BW Wellbeing World. Parenting changes every few years. There are newer challenges, unique situations, and unique ways in which parents have to deal with newer challenges and the ways of managing kids. To talk about this, I have with me Dr. Mahima Bakshi, who is a coach, counselor, consultant, someone who focuses on women and child wellness. Understanding the nuances of child development. Welcome, Mahima, to BW Wellbeing World.
Hi, thank you so much.
So, Mahima, let me begin with asking you the first question. How is the parenting of today different from what we have seen in the past? Do we have newer, unique challenges that we have seen emerging that the parents have to deal with? What is your observation about it?
Right. So, I think it's a very important question because if we see the kind of parenting that was followed earlier, majority of the women at that time were homemakers. They were not working, and I would say that about 90% of moms were there to take care of the babies. When they would come back from school, the mother used to be there to make sure that the child is eating fresh ghar ka khana, and then catching up a nap, and then sitting, studying. There used to be a lot of parental supervision at home, and the kids were in a very comfortable space knowing that the mother is there to take care. And we understand that mother plays an important role in taking care of the child and overall shaping up the child's education, personality, so many things at that stage. Now we also are in a gender equality era. Women are working equally. They also have these 10 hours, 12 hours that they're spending outside the house. They're going to their office. So I think the biggest challenge in today's time is that kids are not getting enough time and space from either of the parent, neither the mother nor the father. And majority of the kids are being raised by maids, by helpers, not even grandparents, because there used to be families that would stay together, and now with the nuclear families, even the grandparents are not staying with the kids these days. So I think the biggest challenge is that these kids are not realizing what relationships are, what family is, what it should be, to spend time with the family, to take care of parents, to take care of grandparents, getting ghar ka khana, maa ke haath ka khana. I think these are the major things that are missing in today's time, and because I feel that these little things play a very big role in ensuring, good parenting. So I don't want to judge working moms. Of course, yes, we want that mothers should fulfill their dreams, but I think this is a big challenge in today's time.
Got it. And before I move further, Dr. Mahima, you were born and raised in Africa. When did you move to India, and how?
So my father was working in Africa at that time, and I'm the youngest in my family. So I was born in Nigeria, and I did my schooling in Botswana, which was next to South Africa. And I remember after my grade 10th, which was basically the Cambridge affiliation over there, because there was no CBSE. So my father just sat me down and asked me, okay, now what do you want to do? You want to become an engineer or a doctor? Only two options, no third option. And I thought to myself, I did not like maths, and I thought that engineering nahi karna hai, I will probably become a doctor. And he said, okay, pack your bags, go to India, because there are better med schools in India rather than Africa at that time. And then that's how the whole coming back to India happened.
Awesome. Now, coming back to the topic that you are passionate about, child development, parenting, every human being is different. Every child has his own set of weaknesses, strengths, etc. And we've heard conflicting views on how to manage the child. Sometimes some views are that we have to focus on bettering or making the child overcome the weaknesses that they have. There's a contrarian view that we should focus on the strengths rather than focusing on the weaknesses. What is your opinion? Because managing a child today who is better informed than a child of a decade ago, right, because of internet, YouTube, etc., how do you suggest a parent should help overcoming the weaknesses of their child?
So, I think, like you said, that either this or that, right? So, I think it has to be a balance of both, because you can't keep making a child realize the weaknesses and not highlight the strengths, because that's just going to pull the child down. But also, if you only focus on the strengths and if you don't try to improve the weakness of the child, it's going to cause problems as the child grows up. He or she is going to think कि बचपन में मेरे पेरेंट ने ऐसा करके मुझे क्यों नहीं हेल्प किया. So I think you have to work around the weaknesses, but it's always better to work on the solutions. Rather than helping your child improve, it's better if we look at solution oriented improvement. So I think that is very important for parents to understand. I think, again, if we talk about a challenge over here that we practically see in today's time, is failure of acceptance. Parents are not ready to accept that there's a weakness in the child. I think that is where the problem begins. So a lot of schools, principals, they have to sit and counsel the parent कि आपके बच्चे का इस area में weakness है, you have to work around this specific area, and parents are not ready to accept. नहीं, हमारा बच्चा तो बिल्कुल ठीक है, उसको तो कोई issue नहीं है. So I think first is that parents need to accept if there's a weakness and then work around a solution to help out the child, because we see lots of children get bullied by their peer because if they are not working on the weaknesses, kids make fun of them. Right, then there's problem with resilience. You see children facing so many mental health issues because of that. So it is important to work on the weaknesses, but it should be solution oriented, and at the same time strengthening the strengths, of course, that has to be there.
Very interestingly, you know about this concept of the missing tile, where they say that जब 99% tiles लगी हुई हैं, but that 1% tile which is missing, everybody focuses on that. Do you think that the parents focus more on what is missing in their child than all the other good things that the child already has in them?
I think both kind of parents are there. There are kind of parents who would say that no, it's okay, it's fine, the way you are, you're fine, we are happy with it, we are okay with it, enjoy life. And there are certain parents who will keep nagging and keep saying no, you have scored one mark less in your exam and next time you have to get 100%. I think both kind of parents are there, and I think overall it is about ensuring that you focus a lot on the overall skills of the child rather than the educational scores, because I think how much you score in your school or in your exams is not something that is going to decide your future. So I think parents need to ensure that they are working on the overall development of the child and not just one particular subject matter or only the examination score. I think that's very important.
And Mahima, you mentioned that you don't have large families today. Both the parents are working, even the grandparents are not available to the children. They're not staying in the same household. We anyways, couple of years ago or decades ago, moved towards nuclear families. Pandemic took away the friends in the physical environment. I mean, we are now, the children are meeting each other only on screens. Do you think it has taken away the soft skills a child would observe and imbibe in themselves, like sharing, like interpersonal skills? If that is a reality, then what do you think should be done?
100%, because even if we see the number of siblings in today's time, even that has drastically reduced. Majority of couples are only having one child. In fact, a lot of them also struggle to have that. They go through a lot of infertility treatments to have a baby. So even that sibling bond is missing, because of which definitely a child doesn't realize how to share and care. And plus, even if the families are not living together, grandparents are not there, they will not understand on how to take care of the elderly people, how to talk respectfully towards them, or the very basic things that our Indian tradition teaches us, like touching the feet of your grandparents. So I think these small things, they definitely add a lot of value in terms of making the child realize what is love, what is relationship, what is socializing, how to be empathetic towards others around you, how to ensure that you are taking care of other people. So definitely that has drastically reduced, and I feel that after COVID, because there was this pandemic period where a lot of kids were being born at that time, or they were entering into to that preschool age, because of which they could not go to school because of the lockdown at that time. So that big gap has come into these, pandemic kids, and I think that it is important that we work around that area even more to ensure that kids, when they grow up, they don't face those issues. Because I strongly feel that, when we see couples going through relationship issues, somewhere or the other it is going to go back again to the childhood memory, where the child was not getting enough love from the family members, or was not getting enough relationships in terms of sibling bond or the parental love, or maybe must have gone through a disturbed marriage of the parents, or the grandparents not meeting. So I think to ensure that these kids, when they grow up and are shaping into, good partners in a relationship, in a marriage, it is important that parents focus around this area during the childhood.
You are involved in, uh, you know, uh, childbirth and motherhood. Now, when a woman is pregnant, she's very conscious about different stages that the child development is going through, when it is from fetus to growing up. After the child has taken a birth, especially when the child has gone to school and parents get back to their work, they miss out on the child development milestones. Would you want to share with us some signs and milestones that parents should be mindful of and keep notice of, or be observant of, during the growth of the child?
Absolutely. So I think most important is after 6 months, which I think is the first missing gap. So mothers who are working, the maternity leave gets over, they have to join back their office after 6 months, and that's the time when the child has to start with solid foods.
Right.
That is a big milestone, because that's when you're introducing food, the concept of food, choosing what you're eating, how to eat, and different types of food. And we see biggest problem in, lots of kids these days is they are fussy eaters. They don't want to eat healthy food. So I think that's a very important milestone which parents should not miss out on, and they should make sure that they are introducing different types of healthy foods to the child in the best manner. Second thing I will say is that, as the child completes the first birthday and achieves that first 1 year completion, and the child is there ready to all take support to stand, and they are all very happy, and the child is desperate to start learning how to walk and all that. I think again a lot of parents, because they're going to work, they don't realize whether the child is achieving that milestone on time or not. And sometimes there is a delayed milestone where the parents are not realizing, because they don't focus on these small things, because they're busy going to work. Similarly, when the child has to go to preschool, so even at that time, I feel that lots of kids, they go through this separation anxiety issue, because they are sent to school and kids are not, they're not prepared for it, because obviously that's the first school entry for them, a preschool. So I think even there, a lot of times parents need to be available, that if in case the child is having excessive separation anxiety and is going absurd while crying in school, is throwing a fit, and the parent is required over there at that time to come attend to the child, to be there. And if the parents are not there because they are in their workplace, or if the workplace is too far away from the school, they cannot immediately come rush. So I think that these essential things initially, when we talk about the first 3 years of a child's life, I think it is important, wherein parents need to be more mindful to make sure that they're keeping a specific watch on these things. Also speaking, lots of kids, they can go through delayed milestone, wherein the speech can be delayed. So speech plays a very important role, and accordingly, if the speech delay is happening, they have to meet a speech therapist, a pediatrician on time. So I think that mindfulness has to be there. It's a part of parenting.
Got it. And since we are talking of a childbirth, etc., and pregnancy, you've been a 2-time author.
Yeah.
And you wrote your first book, which was Birthing Naturally.
Yeah.
What prompted you to write this book, and what was your experience as an author?
So I have a very interesting story to share here. So I remember reading book of Dr. Anupam Sibal, who's the group medical director for Apollo Hospitals and a pediatrician. And I picked up his book and I saw the book, and I was so inspired that I thought to myself, okay, even I want to become an author. And I just turned around the book and saw the name of the publisher, and the publisher was Penguin. And having no experience of writing or no experience of authoring a book, or not being that senior in my age also at that time, I just thought to myself that काश मेरा भी book जो है वो Penguin publish कर दे. And it just so happened that I sat down to write, and I prepared my synopsis, and then I pitched it to different publishers, and honestly speaking, everybody rejected my book. Okay, just by chance Penguin was the one who liked my synopsis, and they actually said that let's do it. So I don't know if it was manifestation, what was it, but it just happened, and I couldn't believe to myself that, oh my god, that's the most difficult deal to crack, because Penguin only takes like renowned authors and big famous people, and for me I was like, okay, this is my first book, and I'm just being lucky enough, and I'm thankful to God that actually that came true for me.
It's absolutely a classic case of manifestation, law of attraction. And the book has been very well accepted. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
And Mahima, let's move from, when you're talking of child development, one of the stages of a child that every parent kind of is scared of is adolescence. So do you think the adolescence of 2 decades ago, or even when you were growing up, is different from what we see today? A child today is more informed, they have more access to information apart from their school and family. How do you think that the parent of today could better manage an adolescent child?
I think that's very difficult, because earlier you'll see the age of adolescence used to be like teenager, 14, 13, 14, when they're entering that stage, and now it's almost about 8 to 10. So that adolescent stage is also preponed because of the exposure that the kids are facing. So we see even the menarche age in girls. Earlier girls used to start their period at about 14 to 15, and now we see girls starting their period between the age of 8 to 10. So hence kids also need to be prepared about what is adolescent, how they need to be prepared for it, what are the changes that they will go through, and accordingly parents knowing how to deal with it. So I think most important thing is that parents need to sit down and talk more often to the kids at that age. Now what happens is, in majority cases we see that parents are so busy in their own lives, or they're so busy in their own gadgets, that even when they come back from office, they're not able to give enough time to the kids. They're not able, in fact even husband and wife are not able to sit together and talk to each other. They'll probably talk more on chatting on the mobile phones rather than talking face to face. So it is important that your child at that stage, when is about to enter the age group of 8 years, 8 to 10, they need to sit down and become a very close friend of their child, so that whatever problems the child goes through at that time should be able to open up and discuss with the parents. They should not be scared to ask weird questions to the parents. And parents should also be prepared that, okay, if my child is going to come and ask me this question, I should be able to handle it in a good way and not say lame things like, मम्मी मैं कहाँ से आया, आपको एक परी आई और परी मेरी गोदी में दे के चली गई. आजकल के बच्चों को ऐसे आंसर्स एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं है. So I think it's important parents also need to know how to answer these kind of questions, how to handle these kind of situations. Kids will go through their dating phases at that stage as well. They will have their girlfriends and boyfriends. So parents need to sit down and prepare the kids about what is adolescence, what you're going to go through, what is normal, what's not normal. Talking about sexuality with them, because in today's time we see there's a lot of LGBT awareness that's going on, and in fact in a lot of schools also we see kids who come up and talk about their sexual preferences during 15, 16, 17 years of age. And if kids are not empathetic about it, if they don't understand what is LGBT, if they're not supportive towards it, they will never be able to understand how to support that particular child in school. So we have to teach children to be sensitive towards these kind of issues, or these kind of social awareness, and hence that has to come from the parents.
And since you said that the the age for adolescence is younger today, and I'm sure the whole child development, the phases are changing, and parents may or may not be aware of it, because to the best of their intention, they understand from their own experiences, right? So should a parent actually wait for a child to come and ask these questions, or should they be proactive in belling the cat?
So, I think schools also play a good role in it, because a lot of schools do these awareness workshops. They have school counselors who ensure that they organize that kind of awareness activities for them in particular age groups. But like I said, parents need to be mentally prepared that between the age group of 8 to 10, they need to be ready, and they need to make the child ready. So, I think that is the age when they should sit down and talk. But as the questions start pouring from the kid, and they will understand that, okay, now my child is asking about this, so maybe this is the time we should talk about this particular topic. But because Google is there, maybe fortunately or unfortunately, kids know, they don't even want to go to the parents, they'll just go to Google, type, search, and get the answer. So parental supervision plays a important role. Okay, what kids are watching on these OTT platforms, the kids' parents need to ensure that they're keeping a watch on that. And also, I think parents need to be well informed and be aware of the friend circle of their children, because they need to know what kind of friends the child is making and what kind of people are there, right? I'm not being judgmental, but of course, for the child's safety, you need to know what kind of peer the child is hanging out with, because a lot of peer pressure also happens at that time. The child needs to know to stay away from alcohol, smoke, drugs at that age, because that's the age when kids get very prone to experimenting with things. So parents need to make sure that they get involved into their friend circle, where they go, what are their favorite hangout places, where they're going after school. I think that's important for parents to start by the age of 6 to 8.
Awesome. And you mentioned that parents need to become friends with their children, and one of the most important aspect of friendship is communication, right? And I think that is where there is not enough of communication or enough of quality communication happening between children and the parents, for whatever reason, the lack of time, the intrusion of gadgets, etc. What do you think should be done as a measure by the parents to kind of initiate and nurture a positive communication and relationship with the child?
Right. So, I believe that the best way to start a communication with any stranger also is by you start talking about yourself. You introduce yourself. If I meet you for the first time and I say, hi, I'm Mahima Bakshi, your response would be, you tell me about yourself, you'll introduce yourself to me. So similarly with parents, when they want to improve on their communication with the kids, they need to start sharing their own childhood stories. The moment they start sharing about their stories, what they went through in school, some funny examples, some serious examples, sometimes maybe they must have gotten into trouble. But when you share your experiences with your child understands that, okay, my parent has also gone through these kind of things, and it's okay for me to talk about it. So I think that's how the communication can become stronger and better and more positive, if parents start sharing their experiences with the child. And then of course the child will open up and talk about what the child is going through in school, or the child will open up and get better in communicating, because it can't be one-sided. We cannot have only the parents talking to the child and the child not talking to the parents. It has to be two-way communication. So I think that's the best way to do it.
And something that we have observed lately is that a lot of children are very hesitant on writing, and they're not writing because when you ask them, they're like, likhna kyun hai? We can type and send it, and this is getting parents worried. Should they be worried about this?
Yeah, I think writing is an essential skill, and even when we go through the basic skill development in schools, it's LSRW: listening, speaking, reading, writing. So it is part of that development. You have to become a pro at it. Even when you go to schools for your exams, what happens? I see a lot of kids during the pandemic, they were not used to writing. Suddenly जब board exams आए या जब exams आए, वो speed लिखने की छूट गई, and they were not able to complete their examination papers also. So writing is something which will always be an important part and always going to be an important aspect for a child's life, at least during the school life. So kids cannot escape that. No matter what, there is no escape to it. So they have to get used to writing. And also when we talk about mental wellness, mental health, again, writing is a great way for a person to vent out emotions. We talk about journaling, that journaling is a great way to take care of your mental health. अगर आपको राइटिंग का ही हैबिट नहीं है या पसंद नहीं है या आपको कभी भी एक कनेक्शन, एक बॉन्ड अपनी उस किताब के साथ नहीं बना पाएंगे जहां आप उसके साथ अपनी मन की बात कर सकें, राइटिंग इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर श्योर. एंड ऑथर्स कहाँ से बनेंगे? सो इवन फॉर माई सेल्फ आई रिमेंबर you know, I had to type and send the manuscript for publishing, and I said नहीं यार, मैं तो जब तक पेपर पेन लेके नहीं बैठूंगी, I cannot write. You know, I am more of a traditional person in writing. I have to have a paper pen. I have to scribble and waste at least 4-5 papers until I know that okay, now what I'm writing is what I want. I don't know, I somehow feel वो typing में नहीं आता है.
You know, I think it's more about what I hear you say is that writing is a great form of expressing yourself. You know, and you have to figure out, every child needs to figure out a way to express himself or herself. And writing is probably the most creative way of doing so. So, you know, I've heard people say that theatre is there and there are various forms, but you still need to write a script, or you need to be creative in the way you think, and the way you express it is when you write.
I think it will always bring out a better creative person in you when you're following the traditional writing method.
Absolutely. Mahima, also, you know, one of the dilemmas that I've seen parents dabble with is the dichotomy of the education system. We feel that the education system needs to change, and the environment in which the child is growing up today is definitely changed, right? But we are also pressured to have the child cope up with the current or existing traditional education system. How do you, what is your recommendation on how to deal with this for the parents?
So I think, you know, if I compare us from what used to be there 20 years back and today, even in India, because I'm saying because I've been abroad and gone through that international education system as well. So I'm very happy to see that there are so many options available now in India. You have a CBSE option, you have an IB school option, you have a OGCSE level option, you have O levels, A levels, you have all the kind of school options in India these days. But problem is that parents are not aware about the differences. They will just see okay, the school is famous, सब बच्चे इसी स्कूल में जा रहे तो मैं भी अपना बच्चा इसी स्कूल में डाल दूंगा, विदाउट अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि वो क्या करिकुलम फॉलो करते हैं, उसके क्या प्रोज एंड कॉन्स है, आपके बच्चे के लिए क्या बेनिफिशियल है नहीं है. सो आई थिंक पेरेंट्स नीड टू गेट इनटू द डेप्थ to understand the different kind of curriculum based schools that are available in India in today's time. What are the differences? Do you aspire to send your child abroad for further education later on in life? तो उस हिसाब से आपको किस स्कूल में डालना चाहिए. You want your child only to study in India later on also, तो आपको किस स्कूल में जाना चाहिए. I think parents need to first get their basics clear into this and then decide कि बच्चे को किस स्कूल में डालें. But the best part is कि आज के टाइम में options हैं. आज से 20 साल पहले शायद खाली CBSE schools ही होते थे. I remember when I came back after my O levels from Africa. तो उस टाइम पे there were not any schools in Delhi NCR and nobody understood. And when I came with my O levels का you know scoring sheet, तो लोगों ने मुझसे सारे स्कूल्स में सब प्रिंसिपल्स ने एक ही सवाल पूछा, ये छोड़ो आप बताओ आपके 10th बोर्ड एग्जाम में कितने मार्क्स आए थे. एंड आई फेल टू मेक दम अंडरस्टैंड कि मैंने CBSE नहीं किया है और मैंने 10th बोर्ड एग्ज़ाम वहाँ नहीं दिया है. बट थैंकफुली, थैंक गॉड, देयर वाज ओनली वन स्कूल only one principal at that time who understood, who gave me admission, and that was DPS Arkipuram, Mrs. Shama Chona. She was the only one who was like, O levels, कितने A's आए हैं, इतने A's आए हैं, done, take admission. मतलब she was the only person who understood कि O levels होता है, उसमें A grades होते हैं, उसके हिसाब से scoring होता है. Everybody else refused saying कि नहीं, हमें तो आपका CBSE का 10th board का marksheet चाहिए. So I'm very happy to see कि आज इतने सारे curriculum options हैं इंडिया में.
Mahima, when we deal with kids, as a parent, we always want to see our child happy, you know. And as and when we have grown and we've gone through the last pandemic and we've gone, you know, and the reason I'm taking pandemic as a case is because post which people started understanding the mental health issues. Now children are no different. At that age also, they may be going through certain pressures, anxieties, other forms of mental health conditions. But how do parents identify and recognize that their child could be dealing with something? Because children do not come and tell this to their parents.
So I think awareness is important for parents to know that what are the awareness of problems like anxiety, or it could be depression. A lot of kids in this time, it's not that बच्चे जो हैं उनको depression नहीं हो सकता है. A lot of kids can also have depression. In fact, I'm sorry to say this, but even animals can have depression. कितने पेट्स होते हैं जहाँ पे घर पे पेट्स को भी डिप्रेशन हो जाता है. सो इट्स इम्पॉर्टेंट वेयर पेरेंट्स नीड टू बी अवेयर ऑफ द साइंस एंड सिम्टम्स. एंड आई वुड से दैट सडन चेंज इन बिहेवियर इज़ द फर्स्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग. कि आपको लगे आपका बच्चा सडनली अलग बिहेव कर रहा है, is being very aloof in the house, is probably spending most of the time in his or her room, doesn't want to come out and mingle with the family members. और आप कहीं बाहर जाने का कोई ट्रिप प्लान कर रहे हैं तो वो बच्चे का वहाँ भी कोई enthusiasm नहीं आ रहा है, because generally kids like to go out, you know, they want to go out for outing, go to new places. So when you start seeing these kind of change in behavior, it could be in the eating pattern. बच्चा स्कूल से टिफ़िन ख़त्म करके नहीं आ रहा है, खाना नहीं खा रहा है, लॉस ऑफ एपेटाइट हो रहा है, सो नहीं रहा है, या फॉर दैट मैटर इवन स्पेंडिंग अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम ऑन द गैजेट्स कैन ऑल्सो बी अ साइन, बिकॉज द चाइल्ड इज़ एक्चुअली लुकिंग दैट एज अ रिजॉर्ट, बेसिकली एज अ सोल्यूशन. कि नहीं, मैं ये गैजेट ही मेरा फ्रेंड है और मैं गैजेट के साथ ही टाइम स्पेंड करना चाहता हूँ और किसी के साथ नहीं. इवन स्पेंडिंग टू मच ऑफ टाइम विद द गैजेट कैन ऑल्सो बी अ साइन वेयर डेफिनेटली पेरेंट्स नीड टू बी, you know, watchful. Or spending too much time with the gadget can also lead to mental health issues, right? उसका gadget addiction भी होता है. So these kind of things parents need to be careful. And I think also important is that, you know, they should not delay it in going and talking to a psychologist. बहुत सी दफ़ा ऐसा भी मैंने देखा है कि कुछ स्कूल्स में कई बारी पेरेंट्स को बुला के स्कूल्स की प्रिंसिपल्स अगर बताती हैं कि वी हैव ऑब्जर्व्ड योर चाइल्ड हैविंग ऑटिस्टिक साइंस, देन द पेरेंट्स अगेन दे आर इन डिनायल, दे डोंट वांट टू टेक द चाइल्ड टू अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट, दे डोंट वांट टू हेल्प द चाइल्ड आउट, बिकॉज उनको एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं होता कि हमारे बच्चे को ऑटिज्म हो सकता है. सो autism, maybe there are again, you know, various types, and there could be other kind of issues, learning developmental issues in the child. तो ज़रूरी है कि parents they have to be aware. That's the first thing for them to know कि हाँ ऐसा भी होता है, और अगर ऐसा होता है तो इसके लिए ये करना है, right? So important that parents pay a lot of attention to understanding, to watching videos that are being made by a lot of bloggers on you know, doctors on what are these issues that kids can go through, because it's a whole science. There are so many things that the child can go through, right? Anxiety is just one of them. बट ज़्यादातर हमने जो देखने को मिलता है वो एग्जामिनेशन स्ट्रेस, एग्जामिनेशन एंग्जाइटी, and that's where it's important that when you know that the examination period is approaching, you start helping your child to de-stress himself or herself. एंड एग्ज़ाम्स के पास आके भी मैं आपका ये प्लेटफॉर्म यूज़ करना चाहूँगी कि जो स्कूल्स में सुसाइडल रेट्स हैं वो भी कहीं ना कहीं एक ज़रूरी है हमारे लिए अभी टू टॉक अबाउट इट एंड टू मेक श्योर दैट वी आर हेल्पिंग आउट द चाइल्ड. सो इट could be suicide, it could be attempt to suicide, कि किसी ने करने की कोशिश की but of course हुआ नहीं, but that mental impact is going to stay there with the child forever, right? So उस level तक बच्चे को जाने ही क्यों देना. So to make sure that parents, I think most important is that parents have to be close to their child, only then they will know what the child is going through. एक डिस्टेंस के साथ आप पेरेंटिंग करेंगे तो आपको कभी पता ही नहीं चलेगा what your child is going through, right? So I think making sure that you spend the Sundays together, you take out your child for regular holidays, you make sure that you're doing your movie nights with your child, doing your pajama parties with your child and the child's friends, and you're making sure that you organize play dates for your kids at home, doing family picnics. इस तरह की छोटी छोटी चीज़ें हमेशा आपको it will help you to understand your child even better, and only then you will know when you start seeing something different in your child.
So basically, spend time with the child, be involved with the child, and also don't be in denial if the child has some issues.
Absolutely.
Because it's only when you are not in denial would you ever take a action around it.
Absolutely.
Mahima, before I come to my last question with you, I want to understand, you have this calendar, and this is the 4th year that you're publishing this calendar. How did you think about it, and why did you do this?
So I'm very excited because this is something that has come straight from my heart. So during the pandemic, I realized how scared mothers were when they were in their pregnancy journey, in the lockdown phase, worried about catching COVID, and the amount of anxiety that they went through at that time. कि अगर मुझे कोविड हो गया तो क्या होगा, मेरे बेबी को हो गया तो क्या हो गया. A lot of the husbands also tested positive, and how for those 2 weeks, 3 weeks they were kept in a separate room from their husband so that the husband doesn't transfer COVID to the wife. वो जब phase उन लोगों का निकला, and I felt that there's something I have to do for mental health of mothers in pregnancy and post delivery, and I started India's first online beauty pageant for pregnancy at that time. So that's how Birthing Naturally Queen started, and we did an online pageant, and I looked around for pregnant moms all over India, and created this platform for them to get together, and I created a jury panel, we created different rounds, grooming, training, everything, and they all got so excited that they forgot about the worry of COVID at that time, और वो 2 weeks जब वो lockdown में घर में थे उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे से मज़े से निकाले. So that's how Birthing Naturally Queen started, and then after that I started with the calendar. And touchwood, since then every year I've been coming out with the Birthing Naturally Queen calendar, which is a maternity calendar, and we feature pregnant women on it to celebrate pregnancy, that pregnancy is beautiful, it should be captured and it should be cherished.
My last question is around pregnant women.
Yeah.
After the childbirth, the lady is dealing with postpartum body issues, and I've seen most women are not comfortable publicly when they go, they somehow lose that confidence on how they look. They're very conscious about what do people think about them, etc. What is that 1 or 2 tips that you would want to share with women to on the grooming, as to how to not lose the confidence, irrespective of what they look like? How to feel beautiful inside and be confident about who they are and what they present as a human being to the world outside.
So I think giving birth to a child and having that power to create another human being is beautiful in itself. And I think that when mothers go through pregnancy, it's important that they must focus on their fitness so that the body gains weight which is essential for pregnancy and doesn't gain excess weight, right? Number 2 is maternity fashion. I think that plays a huge difference. Earlier there used to be times when women would not buy special clothes in pregnancy, and husband की shirts पहन के अपने 9 months पूरे manage करते थे कि खुली खुली shirts पहन लिए. But now it's the time that there are so many brands available and so many options available in terms of maternity fashion. So dress up fashionably in pregnancy, post delivery. You just don't have to shop for the baby, shop for yourself as well. Take care of your skin. You might have skin issues, you might have stretch marks, so pamper yourself, do regular spas, use good products for your body, and most important is celebrate every moment of your pregnancy. So photo shoots, baby shower, right? Doing the baby arrival ceremony, choosing which fancy hospital you're going to deliver in. Nowadays even that's another option that's available, because you have so many luxury hospitals available for delivery. Then announcement of the baby's arrival, informing all your family members, calling them over, doing get-togethers. There's so many things to do in pregnancy and post-delivery, right? So look forward to that, create moments with that, and cherish the whole pregnancy and motherhood journey. So I think if you manipulate your mind in such a way, so you'll be able to be confident about everything in pregnancy and post-delivery. I think it's all about manipulating the mind.
Now, I think on that note, we'll end this conversation, because what you just said is, you use this word, you have to celebrate, your child taking birth.
And be a part of the calendar.
But I think, celebrating life in itself is extremely important, because if you celebrate life in every moment in your life, you will feel good. And it's only when you feel good would you be able to make your child feel good. And that is where you could probably establish a connect with your child and help the child to become a complete, fulfilled human being who can take on this life. With that, I thank you so much for watching this on BW Wellbeing World. Thank you so much, Dr. Mahima Bakshi.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.